Oh boy, what have we got going on here? So I did a thing. Let me explain it here. Here we've got a 2008 Impreza, nothing special cluster, though it should work with any, I believe, '08 to 2014 Impreza WRX or STI cluster. Got an oscilloscope, reading some stuff. Get to that in a second. Then we've got this clock pod here, as you can see. So basically, one Saturday I was just hanging out and I saw that there was a UART line, which is right here. I know it's impossible to tell. A UART line that came to the clock pod from the cluster, and I was like, all right, well that'd be kind of cool to be able to control that. See what we can do with this thing. So I did that. One oscilloscope later, and I finally figured it out. So what we're seeing right here is basically the full message. You can zoom in a tad. From the cluster to the clock pod, which controls things like the temperature, fuel economy, trip A, trip B. So you can see it can change that to trip A, trip B, trip B, and if I click through it, you can see a bit change. You know, things make sense, right? Pretty sick. And so what I've also got here is just this really, really janky, because you know how these setups work, really janky serial converter. Turns out it's 8 bits, even parity, 2 sort of stop bits. The stop bits is what kind of jacked me up when I was trying to figure it out. The stop bits were longer on the serial line than I was expecting them to be. So if we measure, this is a terrible example. If we measure our stop bit, I actually have it conveniently up there. It's 6 milliseconds for a stop bit, but each bit is about 480 milliseconds. So you get like basically 2 extra stop bits. So I thought that there were 4, but that's not really how UART kind of works. Baud rate's 2400 bits per second. Nothing too crazy there. So the setup here, I'm not hooked up to this with anything other than the stock cluster. I've got a potentiometer here that kind of changes the outside air temperature, so if I move it, we should be able to see it change. Maybe. There we go. And we can also see our UART data change as well as that changes. Yep, that's pretty cool. And we can also see our data on the computer change too. I forgot I got that hooked up. And it's actually right, so we can see it change. Super duper slick. And obviously that changes too. So, and it blinks when you're below 37, because that's what everybody thinks is you know, cold. So another thing I've done is, once I got that all sorted out, again, it probably took me like 12 hours to figure out what the baud rate specs were because I'm stupid. I was able to write a little Arduino program, because everybody loves Arduino programs, and start sending it my own serial data. So we know it works with the cluster, and if we unplug it from the cluster, we go unplugged it, goes dead. So hooking that up to this inverting buffer with 12 volts, because that's just the kind of signal it wants to see, with UART from our Arduino here. Probably the TX line's the best one, I'd think there. I don't know why that's actually working right now. That should... Don't mind me. Just being ghetto. And if we do this, click it in. Ooh, that looks kind of ugly. Oh, we should probably send this to our buffer. There we go. You can see that we get a display. I have a couple different parameters changed around, as you can see. But right now we are completely decoupled from the cluster. We're plugged right into this inverting buffer. I promise it's cool. It's a little bit janky. Also, Founder Solid Gold. Pretty easy drinker. Would recommend to a friend. Not too bad for a Friday evening. Okay, so I'm going to try and send this new data to the Arduino. It's doing the compiling thing. Oh, there's an error. That's always good. Probably want to choose the right port that your controller is set to. So that's going to upload. That's uploading. What that should do is just start sending it a bunch of different... yeah, there it goes. So as you can see, it blinks if it's below a certain threshold, and it just counts up. So we can send it arbitrary data. That's pretty sweet. The only caveat is that there's a checksum. It's this last guy right over here, and if we look at our O-scope, we can see we're sending it a bunch of different data. You got your data changing and your checksum right here changing. And that checksum is just 8 bytes added up, truncate the last nibble. Pretty standard Subaru stuff. And yep, makes it work pretty good. You can also change this fuel economy thing as well. I just don't have it in the current sketch, but it's pretty cool. Again, here you can see I'm not no control of the cluster here. It's just running through the Arduino. And then there's some sketchbook notes if you want to figure out how things work. I don't know, that's it. It's sick.